Now, if you need to convert, report specific field, a report specific field into system-wide calculated field, system-wide CF. So for this one, we have one, report convert, convert calculated field for report. Okay. So you can try this. You have already created a report specific calculated field. Now, if you need to convert that report specific calculated field, use this task. Okay, this is a task name. Okay, this is a task name. So I'm just putting, one star mark here so that we know this is a task name. Okay. Now, if you need to convert a system-wide into report specific, then we have another task which we call as convert calculated field. Okay, so you can explore these two, tasks in Workday, and just try to explore. I mean, you have already created one report specific calculated field. Now, try to create, just try to convert that calculated field in system wide calculated field, and then again, you create a system wide calculated field and try to convert that into report specific calculated field. Okay, using this task I have mentioned, you just explore that. Okay. And how exactly we are going to create a system-wide calculated field? That is something, we will anyways, we are going to discuss today. Okay.
Okay.
Now we have a lot of, calculated field functions. Okay. Create calculated field. Okay. So this is the task to create a calculated field. So I was talking about the functions. Okay. So the functions here, if you click on the function, then here you will be able to see a lot of functions, right? I mean, there are a lot of functions, aggregate related instances, arithmetic calculation, build date, concatenate text. So, all of these, are the functions which calculated field is offering. Okay. So in Workday, we have, categorized these calculated fields into, some categories. So categories are like, numeric calculated fields, then text calculated fields, then we have date calculated fields, then we have organization calculated fields, there is one Boolean, and then we have instance type calculated fields. Okay, so numeric calculated fields are like arithmetic calculation, convert text to number, date difference, numeric constant, count related instances, sum related instances, text length, convert currency. So these are, numeric related, calculated fields. So numeric related calculated fields, I mean, this is arithmetic calculation used for the calculation purpose. Convert text to number. If you have any text and if you want to convert that text to number, for the addition or subtraction, you can use that, use convert text to number. Then we have date differences. If you want to find the difference between two dates, you can use the date difference. Then we have numeric constant. You can define a numeric constant, constant in Workday. For example, if you need to use 3, 4, 5, this kind of, numbers, and, you don't have numeric constant field, you will not be able to use. So basically, you need to create those constant field on global business object. We are going to discuss that. Then we have count related instances. Count related instances, if you want to count the instances in related business object, okay, there you can use the count related instances. Now, if you want to sum the values, of one of the field in related business object, you will be able to do using sum related instances. Then we have text length. If you want to find the length of any string, okay, then you can use the text length. If you want to convert the currency, you will be able to use this convert currency calculated. Okay, so these are the calculated fields we have in numeric, and then we have some calculated fields in text, such as concatenate text. Then we have lookup translated value. Then we have substring text. Then we have text constant, format date, format number, format text. So these are, text type of calculated fields. So, okay, so here, you can understand, like, to join two text field, we can use, concatenate text field. Then, if you want to get the substring, like some part of, text, you can use substring. If you need to define text constant, okay. So let's say, you want to create a constant field, which will be the name of your company. Okay, let's say ABC. ABC is something. ABC is your company name, and you want to, just create a constant value there. So you can use text constant. If you want to format date, in some other format, you can use format date. If you want to format number, okay, you will be able to use format number. Then, if you want to format date, like for example, if you want to convert one string into uppercase, lowercase, camel case, mixed case, you will be able to you will be able to use this format date, and that's how you are going to convert. So these are the text type calculated field. We are going to discuss, all these calculated fields, in detail again. Then, we have, date type. So in date type calculated field, we have, build date. Then we have date constant. Then we have increment, decrement date. These are date calculated fields. Then we have organizations. In organization, we have lookup organizations. Then lookup organization roles. Then we have lookup hierarchy. Then we have lookup hierarchy roll up. Then, in Boolean, we have calculated fields like, true, false calculated field. Then we have instances. In instances, we have lookup range band. Then we have extract single instance, and then extract multiple instance. Instances. And then, we have some other calculated fields that can return any kind of formats. Okay, so others are evaluate, we have evaluate expression, then we have lookup related value, Then we have lookup value as of date. Then we have prompt for value, evaluate expression, band, lookup related, sorry, lookup fields with prompt. And the last is lookup date rollup. Okay, so here I'm marking the important fields, which we are going to use very, frequently. So, okay, so I'll just mark, when I'll explain all these calculated fields. Okay, so basically in the system, we have these many calculated fields. Okay, in numeric, we have, this many calculated fields. In text, we have, concatenate, text, constant, format, date. In date, we have build date, date constants, increment, decrement date. Then in organization, we have lookup organization, organization rows, hierarchy and hierarchy rollup. In Boolean, when we need to define any condition, so we have, to first calculated field. Then, there are some instance type of calculated field. So, we have extract single instance, extract multiple instance, then, aggregate related instance. And there are some other, calculated fields which can return any of the format. Okay, so any kind of format these other fields can return. So evaluate expression, lookup related value, lookup, lookup value as of date, prompt for value, evaluate expression band, lookup fields with prompts, lookup date, rollup. Okay. So, these are the calculated fields, functions we have. Now, before we start creating calculated fields, you need to understand, few things. So there are some tasks. The first task is create calculated fields. Okay. Now, if you want to see all the system-wide calculated fields created in the system, you have one task, maintain calculated fields. Okay, so when you will search for maintain calculated fields, it will give you all the calculated field which has been created in the system. So here, if you see, if you just go here and type maintain calculated field. So here, if you see, you will be able to see all the system-wide calculated fields. Okay, so total there are 10,459 calculated fields created in this tenant. Okay, now let us open any one calculated field. For example, let's say this one. Okay, so if you need to edit a calculated field, okay, let's say you create a calculated field using create calc field task, and you already saved. Now, if you want to edit a calculated field, what you need to do is you need to go to the related action. In this related action, you will be having option calculated field, and in that calculated field, you will be having option of edit. Okay, and there is one more task here to edit a calculated field. There is another task. That task is edit. If you already know the calculated field name, you can use edit calculated field. Okay, so just remember this task, and then so if you want to edit a calculated field, there are two ways you can do. You can just just go to the related action of calculated field, and then you just go with the uh, just click on calculated field and click on edit. The another way is you can directly search edit calculated field, give the calculated field name, and you will be able to edit any calculated fields. Okay. To edit calculated field, there are three options. Workday always give multiple options to do the same thing. One option is open, go to CF related action, then again in related action, CF calculated field name, or let's say open CF, go to related action, then CF, and there you will find the option edit. This is one. Another option is edit calculated field task. Okay, edit calculated field task. The third option is go to maintain calculated field, maintain CF. There you locate calculated field, locate CF, go to related action, go to edit. Okay. So for same thing, we have three options. Okay. Now in calculated field, if you see, if you create any calculated field, there will be, many options. So let's say, I'm typing here, thing in a new tab. Type create cal field. In create cal field, give the name. The name should be in specific format. So initially you should use CF. That will determine the field is calculated field. You should always follow a naming convention. See, it's not hard and fast. You can give any name to the calculated field. But the thing is like there should be some branding kind of thing. See, you can do anything, you can put any name, but if you follow a specific naming convention, it will help other people to identify those objects easily in the system. And even in the future, if you are trying to identify, it will help you to identify like, okay, this is calculated by the name itself. This is calculated field. So we follow the naming conventions like CF, this means calculated field. Then we give the function ARI, arithmetic calculation. Okay, let's say ARI. No, let's say, arithmetic calculation, let's say, AC, arithmetic calculation. Hourly rate on the business object where you're going to create a calculated field. Okay, so basically you give the name, a CF, then you give the function name in short form, whatever functions you are using, then here determine, just explain what exactly you are trying to find in this calculated field, and then on business object. This is really, very good standard of, you can follow while creating a, calculated field. You can also do one thing, instead of AC here, you can also put here after hourly rate AC on worker. Let's say, we are trying to create a lookup related value. So CF or hourly rate LRV on worker, or you can say CF LRV hourly rate on worker, whatever makes you comfortable. Okay. But, but try to mention, the calculated, CF for to identify that's a calculated field, and, function whenever, wherever, in the calculated field name, and also try to put the business object. Okay, try to put the business object, and in between that, you can describe. Okay, so here let's say I'm creating calculated field on worker business object, worker business object. Here I'm using arithmetic calculation. Let's say this one arithmetic calculation. Click OK. Don't worry about this error. This is not an error. This is because of system. This Workday is slow. Now here, if you see, there are two tabs. Okay, one is the calculation tab and another is additional tab. Okay, so this calculation tab will be different for each and every type of functions. Here I have used arithmetic calculation. That's why, I can see, these fields, for example, field type, rounding, currency code field, return zero on error. And then, the actual logic where, actual place where we can implement the logic arithmetic expression. Okay, so these options will be different for each and every. Let's say if I change the function instead of arithmetic calculation, if I am trying to get the, let's say, lookup related value. Okay, lookup related value. So here, if you see here, if you see, this is different. So for each and every function, this calculation tab will be different. Okay, this calculation tab will be different. Now let me just go back to arithmetic. Yeah, so arithmetic calculation. Now here we will talk about all this fields for each and every function, and then there will be one tab additional. This tab will be almost same for each and every calculated. calculated field. Almost same for each and every type of calculated field. Here, what you need to do is, see, it's always a good practice to describe something which you're doing in the system. Okay. Whenever you are creating a calculated field, it's a very good practice. You just mention the description of that calculated field as well. So that if someone is opening, unless if someone is not able to identify the function, the purpose of that calculated field, that person can go to the additional info and just try to understand from this description. Okay. So this description is not actually a mandatory thing, but ideally you should put some sort of description to understand the purpose of calculated. Okay. Then the second field here in additional info you will be having is category. Okay. So in category, basically, this is uncategorized. This uncategorized means, there is no category of this calculated field. Now, let's say you are creating a calculated field which will be used in integration, or which will be used in reporting, or which will be used in absence space. So here you will be having some categories. So for example, let's search integration. Yeah, integration event onboarding. So if you tag this calculated field with this integration tag, what will happen? Let's say, after, 6 months or 8 months, there are some usual calculated fields cleanup happens in the system. Okay. So when that calculation field cleanup will start, for your tenant, then, they will see like, okay, oh, this calculated field has been created for the integration purpose. They will just take this category. From this category, they will identify where exactly this calculated field is used, and they will not delete. When they will see like, this is being used in integrations, they will not delete that calculated field. Okay. If you keep uncategorized, then, it will give them confidence to delete that calculated field. So whenever you are creating any calculated field, just try to, mention the category name as well. Okay. Then, authorize user. If you want to restrict the uses of calculated field, you will be able to do using this authorized users. So let's see, what are the options we have in authorized users. Okay. So here we have, some, authorized users, for example, data extraction, custom data source, compensation eligibility, business rules, benefits eligibility. Okay. So if you want to, authorize user, like, this calculated field should be used only in organization chart. This calculated field should be used only in worker time eligibility. If you want to restrict this calculated field, you will be able to do that. Okay. In general, we don't restrict any calculated field when we create a system-wide calculated field. Okay, but if your if your company is very strict and they just want to follow like limited field should be used at limited places, you can just put that authorized uses as well. So that will be used in that calculated field will be used in that areas only. Then there are an intermediate calculations. Okay, you can put you can check this checkbox when you are, see, yesterday I gave one assignment, one activity, right? In that activity I ask you to generate a security key. Okay. To generate it, to generate that security key, you had to find the substring, okay, of the first name. You have to find the substring from the last name. Then you had to find substring from the date of birth, and then you had to concatenate. So here the main calculated field is the concatenate field. Okay. The security, you are getting security key from the concatenate calculated fields. Okay. To create that concatenate calculated fields, you are creating, the other calculated fields, which are the intermediate calculated fields. I mean, they are not being used anywhere in the system. They are being used to generate another main value. Okay. So if you want to do that, if you want to, just tag that checkbox, you can do that. Otherwise, that's fine. Then, you have do not use. If you want to mark this calculated field as do not use, then this calculated fields will know. I mean, whenever anyone will say do not use tag in that calculated field, they are not going to use that. Okay. So this can be used just for testing purpose. If you want to just keep that calculated field for you only, you can just tag that for don't tag that field with this do not use checkbox. Okay. You can also explore all these options whenever you are creating a calculated fields. Okay. Then in the advanced tab, there are some options. Okay. So here we have some options. I have not explored these options, to be honest. Let's see, what, okay, include as default view by field. in drill down. Okay, that's fine. So whenever you create a matrix report, I mean, if you want to drill down, using this calculated field, you have that option. You're not going to use this option very frequently. So this is not kind of priority thing. Then here, reference ID. This is one of the important things. So in reference ID, basically, in Workday, each and every object is having reference ID. If you open any task, any object, then each and every object is having one reference ID. For example, this is one of the calculated field. If you go to the related action of this calculated field, if you go to the integration IDs, then you will be able to see all the references IDs which has been created for this calculated field. So system, creates, this reference IDs by default, but it's better to follow one naming convention. It's better to follow convention. Okay. So here you can see there are reference IDs. This is reference IDs. The one reference ID type is calculated field ID. And for that calculated field ID, the value is this one. This is one of the reference ID for this calculated field. If you want to change the reference ID of calculated field, you will be having two options. One option will, when you will be creating a calculated field, there you will be having options to edit the reference IDs, or also, if you have access to maintain, calculated field, you can update the reference IDs later as well. Okay. Then we have, WQL alias. So this is mainly used in, Workday Extend forms. We have another integration tools, okay, in Workday, that is Workday Extend. And there we generally use WQL alias name. So WQL alias name is kind of, query language. If you want to, I think, you are across the database management system. So if you want to fetch data in DBMS, generally what you do is you do some, select star from, the table name, and that gives you all the fields. Now, if you want to extract, some of the fields from that table, what you do is select first name, comma, last name, comma, date of birth from employee table. Okay. And that will give you the first name, last name, and date of birth. Okay. That's what we do. Now here in Workday, we also create WQL. We are not going to create this in the integration space. This is something, advanced topic, but in, in Workday Extend, whenever we need to call, we need to get data from the, from the Workday system, we are going to use similar select statement here, and there we are going to use this as a field name. For this calculated field, this is the actually field name which will be used in the WQL. Okay. So ignore this part. This is, something you will get, to know later when you will talk about the Workday Extend. I mean, that's a very high level, high level advanced topic. So these are the options we have in calculated field. You will be having two tabs, calculation and additional information. Calculation is a tab where you are actually going to define the logic. You are actually going to configure the logic. Then you will be having additional info. In additional information, you will be having, the tagging details, the reference IDs details, the, calculated field description, the category details. Okay. So all these details you will be able to see in the additional info tab. Okay, and one more thing, whenever you check this checkbox, do not use, it will append do not use in the calculated field name. Okay, so you can try that. Then naming convention, I mentioned, if let's say naming convention is something like this one. Okay, naming convention, you can use like this. So here you give CF, then function name, then description, brief, description, then on business object. Okay, so this, this is something you need to define. This will be dynamic, and then, this will be dynamic. Okay, so you can use this naming convention. You can also use, instead of this, you can use this naming convention. You can give this function name. Here. Okay, so this one you can use. And then, if you know, like, this report is going to be used in report, then you can give something like this CF RPT hyphen, then, the same thing, function name and the business object. Okay. So, when I'll give the activity, you just try to create calculated field using, this functions only. Now the next part is who can create calculated field in the system. Okay. So, security required to create calculated field in the system. Okay. So to create calculated field in the system, what you would need is to create a system-wide calculated field, you need one security domain access, that is custom field management. You should be having access to this domain, custom field management. Then only you will be able to create system-wide calculated fields. Okay, for report specific calculated field, you should be having access to private calculated fields management. Okay, and difference is very simple. So let's say you are living in a colony. Okay, you are living in the colony, and in that colony there is one park. Okay, so that park is accessible for all the childrens, all the members who are living in that society. Okay, so that is a system wide calculation. Now let's say if you are you have built your own garden in the roof of your house. Okay, in the roof of your house. So that that garden will not be accessible to everyone in that society. That will be accessible to only your house. Okay, so that's the major difference. The system wide will be is a kind of common park in the society, and this report specific calculated as is something kind of your private garden on top of your floor in your house only. Okay, so that's the main, basic differences. Okay, now if you want to understand like what will be the security domains for calculated field. Okay, uh, what is let's say you have created one calculated field and you want to see like what security roles will be required to view that calculated field. So here I have opened one calculated field. This is one of the calculated field. Now if I want to access the value, if I want to access this calculated field, I should be having access to the particular domains. So what are domains? If we need to figure out those security domains, what exactly we can do is we can just go to the related action of the calculated field. There is one option security. In that security, you will be having one option of view security. Okay. So if you click on view security, you will be able to understand what are the domains you need to use. So here, the domain names you will get in security policy column. See these two fields, to create this calculated fields, these two Workday delivered fields has been used. Okay. These two Workday delivered fields are used, can be accessed by any user in the system. Okay. So basically this calculated field will also be accessed by any person in the system. Now let's say you might have if you create another calculated field on gender or only, then there you will find some security policy. So to access those calculated fields, the users will be required to have that domain access. Then only the user will be able to see that calculated field in the system. Okay, so we will check that. Anyways, we have one activity where we are going to create calculated field on gender field. Okay. Now, mm, Okay. So now if you want to understand, like, whether in system, let's say you get some requirements to create a calculated field. Okay. And, before you start creating a calculated field, ideally, you should check whether, if there is any already, calculated field created in the system or not. If there is already one calculated field created in the system for same purpose, ideally, you should be using that calculated field instead of creating a new calculated field. If there is a very complex integration and there you require, new calculated fields, then, you can, create a new calculated field. But if there are already calculated field created in the system, you should be using that calculated field. So how exactly you can get, existing calculated fields? So to locate existing calculated fields, you will be having options such as maintain calculated fields report. Okay, you can just check this. But this is maintain calculated field is one of the report. Here you can get all the calculated fields in one place. The other is all calculated fields. Okay, so this will give you system-wide calculated fields. This will give you all calculated fields which has been created in the system, whether it's a report specific or system-wide. Then you can also view calculated fields in business object details report. So we have discussed this business object details report. So when you open business object details report, let's say you are creating a calculated field on worker business object. Okay. So when you are when you will search when you will open this business object details report for worker business object, you will be able to see the calculated fields which has been created on worker business object as well. So this is another way you can explore. Then there is in contextual reporting. Sorry, there is one report fields. So this is also one of the report name. You can just explore this report fields to get existing calculated field in the system. Now, if you want to know the report specific calculated fields, you have another report maintain calculated fields for report. Okay, so you can use on any any of these 5 reports to locate existing calculated field in the system. Okay, any calculated field in the system. So you can just run these reports and see what are the differences between all these reports, and where how exactly you can identify the calculated field. You just try to explore. This will be your activity. Okay. If you will not be able to relocate, okay, then we will discuss. These are not from the hands-on perspective. This is just for the exploration perspective. You just you just explore what exactly we have in the system. Sorry, I just mentioned activate its activity. Okay, now let's start on creating calculated fields. Okay. So, the first, calculated field which I would, that is not a, function, any function. The first calculated field is, let's just try to understand the global calculated fields. Okay. So what do we mean by global calculated fields? So in Workday, when I am, try to create any calculated field, whenever I try to create any calculated field, you can see like, that is, let's say, let me show you. When I'm trying to create any calculated field, this business object is a mandatory, field. So you need to give some business object. So this means you are creating calculated field on one specific business object. Okay. You are creating calculated field on one specific business object. So let's say you are creating one calculated field on worker business object. So when you will create calculated field on worker business object, you will not be able to get that calculated field in benefits related business object or leave request business object. Okay, you will not be able to get that. Wherever worker business object is referred, there only you will be able to get that calculated field and you will be able to use that calculated field. Okay, now let's say you want to create a calculated field which is which is not dependent on business object. That calculated field can be used on any business object. So those kind of calculated fields are generally constant calculated fields. So for example, there is one number 15. Okay, you need to use that you need to use that number 15 everywhere in the system, in business process, in in integration, in report, everywhere, you need to use irrespective of the business object. Okay, so in those cases what you can do is you can create those constant type calculated fields on global business object. Okay, we have one business object, global business object. Okay, like worker, we have one business object, global business object. So whenever you create any calculated field on global business object, then you will be able to access those calculated fields anywhere in the system in any business object. Okay, so we are going to create constant type of calculated fields on business objects. Okay, for example, when you need to define some special characters, when you need to define some text constant, numeric constant. Okay, so these kind of calculated fields you will be you are going to create on global business object, so that those calculated fields will be accessible anywhere in the system. Okay, so for example, let's start creating a calculated field. I want to create a calculated field, which will give the number 2024. Okay, so I want to create a numeric constant calculated field that will give the number, number 2024. So let's start creating the CA numeric constant. Sorry, numeric constant 2024 on global. For global, you don't need to mention global, but if you want, you can mention global as well. This is business object is global. The function is numeric constant. Numeric constant. So this is numeric constant. Okay. So here I am creating a numeric constant. Let's say 2024. Okay. This is a numeric constant calculated field created on global business object. So you don't need to give anything. Just mention the number, whatever you want to use. And there in the additional information, let's add this for report. Okay, so here we have reports. Let's tag reports. This is numeric constant 2024. Okay, I don't want to use this thing, then click OK. Then you have this calculated field ready. Now let me open one of my report. View custom report. Ganesh. Ganesh advanced report. This one. Okay, so in this in this custom report, we have fields from worker business object, we have fields from dependence business object. Now, the calculated field which I have created right now, I just want to test whether it is giving me correct value or not. Okay, so the first of all, you might have seen that I have created this calculated field on global business object, whereas in this custom report, I am using worker business object and dependent business object. Okay, so as that calculated field is a global calculated field, I will be able to use on any business object. So for example, if I want to get that calculated field on worker business object, I'll be able to do that. Let me copy this calculated field name and try to get that calculated field in this report. See, I have not created, this calculated field on worker business object, but still I am able to get. So that is happening because this calculated field has been created on global business object, which will be accessible by anyone, anywhere in the system. Similarly, if I want to get, the same calculated field on dependent business object, I will be able to do that as well. See, same calculated field I can use in any, any business object. Now I'm not going to, just, add here. Now let me click OK. Hmm. So now if I run this report, here I have one save filter. Okay, so here, if you see, I mean, I added one calculated field CFNC 2024 on October, and see, we have one constant value 2024 for each and every instances of the worker business object. Right, so this is a numeric constant field. Let's say, you need to, in arithmetic calculation, when you will
Mm-hmm.
create, arithmetic calculated field, there,
Mm.
let's say, you need to divide, you need to, uh, uh, you need to derive the base wage rate, hourly base wage rate. Okay, so basically you have annual salary, and in that
Uh,
annual salary, you want to convert that annual salary into hourly rate. Okay. So what
mm-hmm.
you need to do is you would need to divide that value with the schedule weekly
XML.
hours. Yeah. I mean the annual base pay divided by 52 weeks divided by
Mm-hmm.
your weekly schedule hours. That will give you base wage rate. Okay. So
Mm-hmm.
here I mentioned 52. Okay, we have 52 weeks, right? 52 or 54, 52 weeks, I believe. Okay, so we have 52 weeks. Okay, so now you want to use this, you have to use this 52 number. Okay, so in arithmetic calculation, you will not be simply able to, give that 52 as a number. Instead, you would need your one numeric constant value. Okay, maybe in arithmetic calculation, we will say you will be able to enter, that values. But there are many places in the workday where you will not be able to enter this 2024. You have to use field. Okay, so -1, -30, -400. Okay, all these things. If you want to use, let's say you are adding, you want to add 30 days or 28 days. Okay, in your hire date. Okay, so you are going to use increment and decrement calculated field. So to use plus 28 or minus 28, you would need this constant calculated fields. Okay.
Okay. Okay.
Okay, so let's go with the next one. And here it is, the increment and decrement. So this is one of the calculated field, numeric constant calculated field. Now let's again create another calculated field, which will give, the higher date, minus higher date minus 10 days. Okay, let's derive higher date minus 10 days. CF INCR higher date higher date minus 10 days on worker. So what I'm doing is worker, then here increment decrement date function. This is the function. Click OK. Now here I will use the higher date as a field. Okay, whatever field in which I need to add and subtract. Okay, then I'm gonna use that field. So here I can see two higher date. Okay, one is, let me see which one is the delivered field. Click on related action. Okay, and here you can see this is a delivered field. I'm gonna use this higher date field. Then I need to subtract minus 10 days. What I'll do here, if you see days to subtract, here I will mention minus 10. Okay, minus 10. So this minus 10 is a field. See, I cannot enter minus 10 directly, right? This is the field. Okay, if you click on this related action, you will see this is a numeric constant. Okay, field type, this is a numeric field. Okay, and this is a constant field which is created on global business object. Okay, So if we need to use any numbers here to add or subtract any number of days, you need to use fields. You cannot use the numbers directly. Okay. So that's where your constant field will work. Okay. Now here, just check return blank date on error. Okay. So let's say if you're trying to add or subtract, from one date, and for one worker, that date itself is not there. Let's say, higher date. So higher date will be available for each and every worker. Now let's say if you want to, if you try to add, some days in the date of birth, and let's say, one worker has not updated date of birth in the system. So if worker has not updated date of birth in the system, there, when this calculated will try to minus, will try to subtract 10 days, it won't be able to do that. It will generate error. Okay. And when business will run the report, then, it will show an error. And that's not a good representation, right? I mean, you have given one report, you created report, you have given that report to the business. When the business is running that report, they are getting errors. Okay. That's not a good thing. So basically what we do is, here we mention, if we check this checkbox, where it is saying return blank date on error. Okay. So whenever those kind of situations come, okay, this will by default, this will not return any error. This will return the blank date. Okay. So that is why we need to check this return blank date on error. In advanced, in additional information, same things are there. So I'm not, defining categories and there. But, when you create any calculated field, just try to define the category, try to mention the description, all these things. Okay. So now let's say, I have created this calculated field. Let me see how this calculated field is working. So I will go to this report again. Edit calculated field. Then I have higher date. Let me add, that date after higher date. So higher date minus 10 days. Here, let me override the column name. Higher date minus 10 days. Click OK. Then again run the report. Click OK. And here you can see this is higher date. Okay, and see this is 10 days minus higher date. Right? I mean, for all, not sure. Okay, for everyone it is 2000, is it? Okay, no worries. Yeah, see. So, 3/18/2021. So see, this is 3/8/2021. So it is subtracting 10 days from this higher date field, right? So this is how, calculated field works. If you want to add here in the calculated field, I have added 10 days to subtract. Okay. I mean, I have subtracted 10 days. If you want to add 2 years, if you want to add, 2 months, you can use, you can just mention here 2 and, 10, then, you will be able to get that, value. So here, I mean, I have created some activities. Now, we discussed numeric constant, we discussed the increment and decrement date. Now, the next calculated field is date differences. Okay, date difference. So let's create another calculated field. Now let's say, let's say you get into a situation, you need to add 23. Okay, or let's say, 2023, you need to add 2023 in this increment or decrement date. So when you search, I mean, there is no, value with 2023 in the system. In those cases, you need to create one numeric constant field. That numeric constant will store the value 2023, and when you need to add that 2023 in this increment or decrement date, then you are going to use that field,
Okay,
okay, which you are
understood.
creating.
Yeah.
Okay. So now we are going to discuss one more calculated field function today that I'll stop for the today. So let's yeah. So let us create another calculated field. CA DD means date difference. Higher date minus date of birth on worker. Then again worker business object, and then just click on function date difference. Click on OK. And here see there is start field and end date field. Okay, start date and end date field. Okay, so the start date and end date means here you just mention the field name, whatever you want to subtract, this will be the start date minus end date. So here date of birth, date of birth, then in whichever way you want to return the values. Let's say you want to return the values in years, months, days, hours, minutes, seconds. You will be having all the options. Okay, so let's extract in years. You can explore all these options, like how it looks like in hours, how it looks like in days. Okay, and then always check this checkbox return 0 on error. Okay, and this ignore lower level components. Okay, this ignore lower level component is something is important actually. So, mm, I'll give you the examples of this low, ignore lower, lower level date components. So basically, it's a, difference. Let's say, you are, sorry, you are subtracting, you are getting the date differences, and that differences are coming like 2 years, 3 days. Okay, so in that 2 years, 2 years 100 days. Okay, so in when you get the difference like 2 years 100 days, then what exact value you want. You want 3 as a value, round of value, or you want 2, the lower level value. Okay, lower level date component. Let us see here. We will get to understand. We will create 2 calculated fields here. This is one, and then I'm copying a calculated field. There is another option we have in calculated field. You just go to related action, go to the calculated field, and there you will be able to see copy calculated field. Okay, so just click on this copy calculated field, and you will be able to use the same calculated field. Okay, and here I'm just giving the same name. Same name, but here I'm just mentioning ignore lower level components. Now this one I'm checking. Ignore lower level date components. Okay, so now I have 2 calculated fields. Let me add this calculated fields in the report. Yeah. So here, I have higher date. I'm adding, date of birth as well. Come on. Date of birth, and then I'm adding both the calculated fields here. Copy. So Oh, I have created two calculated field with the same name. And now I'm confused. Maybe in another batch I created. But anyways, I'm using one and then I'm using the another one with ignore lower level date components. Okay, so if you see, click OK. Now click OK. Oh, uh, where are those calculated fields? Oh, it got refreshed. Okay, no worries. This is the problem of the tenant. You add and then, this tenant will wipe out. Okay, then run the report. Ganesh. Okay, so here, see, why this is giving me negative value. Okay, so no worries. I'll explain this thing, tomorrow, the ignore level, date components and all.